about leaders? How how should they be? They play an important role here as well. And
So leaders
leaders.
are simple, actually. And when I say simple, there's only two, at least in the context of this conversation, there are only two perspectives that we need to adopt of leaders. The first is as individuals, and therefore they fall into the same paradigm that we've been talking about all along in the context of their role as leaders and how they're using Gen AI tools to improve their performance as leaders, including their intentionality as a leader. What does leadership effectiveness mean to you? If you're trying to improve your communication with your team, how are you doing that? If you have a challenge with a particular strategy, how are you doing that? So that concept of intentionality and purposefulness and the use of the tool as an enabler of performance applies to them in the role as a leader. But it also has a different indication, which is the point I mean, which is a subset of the role as a leader, but particularly because of the impact they have on how others access and use the tool,
Mm.
including making decisions about, and this leads to their role in the context of innovation and adaptation.
Mhm.
Because if you have a leader that's adverse to change, then they're going to make it very difficult for the teams and their departments to access tools that are like AI because they're worried about the risk and they're worried about the change and the impact. If you have leaders that are more innovative, and there is a time continuum, right, between adaptive, which is incremental improvements, and innovation, which is complete change, willingness to completely change things. And some leaders are in the middle, some are in the extreme. So depending on where the leader is, it would impact the ability to. It will impact the kind of decisions they make about the deployment of this kind of tools and the use of this kind of tools in the organization. You see this actually in education, where you have the debate of whether to allow AI in the classroom or not, where the teachers or the educational institution are the leaders making that decision. And you've got the two camps, which is ban it and encourage it, and it's all dependent on how the leader views the world.
Mm. So I read your recent article. I always keep up with your articles. It gives me, the questions to think, as you say, and I love to do that. See, you talked about how leaders are what they believe in, right? Uh, so how is one? What does that mean? Right? What they
Okay,
believe
so
is they.
that's a very interesting, I'll try and answer it easily in a simple way, but it's a very
Okay.
nuanced thing. So basically, from my point of view, I don't want to say my philosophy, I think leadership is about being, not doing. So what I mean by that is management is about doing, right?
Hmm.
But leadership is about being, because when you are, then people will connect, because leadership, you need people to connect with you, to be inspired, to be motivated, to be willing to do something, to follow you, to do something that you want them to do. Even if they don't immediately get it, or they're not even as confident about it, but they just feel connected. That kind of energy comes from being, not from doing. Now, what does being mean? Being means that you believe you have a vision that you believe in.
Hmm.
Believe is an active thing. So believe informs behavior. If you believe something, you become that thing. If you don't believe it, you don't become it. So when people say, "Oh, I want to be the XYZ," and then they're not XYZ and they're wondering why they're not XYZ, my answer to them is you don't believe it. Because if
Hmm.
you believe it, it's just natural that you would become it. So if you're struggling to become it, you should check whether you believe it, whether there's some limiting belief, whether there's some thinking that's going on, negative automatic thoughts that are going on that are prohibiting you, or as well as obstacles for you achieving that vision. So for me, leadership is about having a vision of what leadership means to you, to your, in that context, and believing that vision. So that when you believe, because through that believing, then you become that, and when you become that, you're done. So when I say you're done, what I mean is that journey of becoming is actually what makes you an effective leader. It's not that you're going to be perfect, but that pursuit of that vision that you believe in is what people are going to connect with. And if
Hmm.
you look around the world, you notice that people who believe in their visions, no matter who they are and how they are, always have very committed followers.
Hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of leaders in organizations and are not they're not being, they're doing, because the leadership role is a job for them. So they're doing the job of leaders, and we're training them to do the job of leaders. So we're training them to do the activities and perform the activities, but they don't fully have a vision that they believe, or they don't believe in what they're doing, but they're doing it because it's the job.
And
And most are not even aware that this is even there's a difference between these two things, which is the bigger issue.
yeah, I mean, it's so close. People are so, as individuals, I mean, irrespective of being in a leader title role, I think we are so close to the activity and to the belief what we have to, it's about doing and learning
Yeah,
how to do it,
yeah.
that we tend to miss the, I'll just use very simple words, the questioning part. What is my, you know,
What do I
uh,
believe? What do I
what do
believe? A
I
lot of
believe
people,
in?
yeah.
What's my
Human beings are
values?
driven by beliefs. Let me just put it bluntly. Human beings are driven by beliefs. We all have beliefs that that determine our behavior. Some of them are conscious, some of them not so conscious. Some of them are ingrained from a long time ago, some of them are more contextual. But we all have beliefs that drive our behavior. And we tend to never confront those beliefs. And leadership is not about doing, like I said, because doing is, you can learn to do something and do it. But when you believe, that activity takes on a different meaning and impact. It's just that's just the way it is.
Mm,
Anybody can play tennis, but if you're going to, I mean, anybody can do an activity. But when you believe in the activity, the way that you perform it, eventually you're going to get really good at it because you believe in it. You're doing it for a completely different reason. And that reason is what propels you to actually get really good at it. And that again connects back to my purposefulness and intentionality, because when you believe in something, it's because you believe in what it's for. You believe in the why of it. You
mm,
believe in what it stands for, and you believe in what it can do. And that's what's driving you to do it, not the activity, but the result, the outcome, the reason why you're doing it is so strong. That's why Sinek talks about it all the time, that your why is what's most important, because that's what it represents your belief.
mm.
Everything else can fall apart, but if your belief is strong, you'll pull it up, you'll pull it together.
Yeah, that's so right. Right. I
And,
definitely
and a
have
lot of
a,
people have beliefs about things like generative AI, just to bring it back to this topic. And that
yes.
belief, they don't even realize that they have those beliefs. And those beliefs are the ones informing their behavior around it. And
Mm,
unless they get educated so that they can broaden their perspective and then shift those beliefs, it's very hard to change the behavior. So they
mm,
might pay lip service, which is back to doing, not believing, say the right things, but when the person actually come, when the activity actually kicks in and you're responding to
mm.
someone in the moment, you revert back to what you fundamentally believe, which is exactly opposite of what you just said.